So, Tania, what are your ideas about the future of development nowadays?
Okay, so my thought about this right now is that we really have to seriously scrutinize and actually probably give up on or seriously reject the transition narrative, which we inherited from evolutionary thinking in the 19th century, modernization theories of the 20th century. The idea that somehow there's one trajectory that all people in the world will eventually follow, and it has to do with going from farm to factory, from country to city, from low productivity to high productivity work, as if we knew the end point and it's just a matter of time before everyone gets there along this path. And I was really alerted to this when I read the World Bank's 2006 report on agriculture, which really repeated this 19th century transition narrative unrevised, as if globalization hadn't happened and as if the same trajectory could be expected to occur in each and every country. But if you think about it, why would it? Why would every group of people in every part of the earth be on the same pathway? What we're actually seeing is that some people are on quite different pathways, and sometimes they're going backwards, right? I mean, there just is no inevitability to this modernization transition idea. And so I think if one takes that seriously, then you have to, first of all, be really serious about the question of unevenness. So what are the different trajectories? And let's examine those. But secondly, what does this imply in terms of, for example, rural livelihoods? If people cannot march off to the city to get a job, we have to be more serious about how they're going to survive in the rural areas where they are. Or some other provisions need to be made for them. So I think we're also a bit past the kind of hyper market or the narrative of neoliberalism, which suggested that markets would take care of this. There was no need for planning. There was no need for intervention. Increasingly, we are seeing a return and a recourse to planning for livelihoods, like the One Revere types of programs that we're seeing in Latin America, basic income grants, Bolsa Familia, and so on. There's a recognition that a lot of people cannot survive in the countryside on the old terms and need to be supported. And if they move to cities, even more so. So for me, the most fantastic iteration of this at the moment is China's plan to move 300 million people from the countryside to the cities in the next 20 years. There's never been a social experiment on that scale. And it has to do with the Chinese government's idea that, a modern country is an urban country, so let's make it urban. And their idea to industrialize agriculture and make it more productive. And then you've got 300 million people that somehow have to be housed, and livelihoods must be found for them, or else state subsidies must be paid to keep them alive. This is a massive intervention, but there are versions of this in many parts of the world. And so I think, these questions of how people will live in an era when they cannot survive by their labor, either in the countryside because the countryside no longer has space for them, or in the cities where manufacturing requires not as many people as it did. The large-scale employers, mining and so on, increasingly mechanized. So we are in a different future in terms of work, but also in terms of what must be our concept of development. And these are things that I think we need to be watching.
Thank you.